Hello friends, welcome to episode 26, I think, or 27, 26, whatever. Anyway, here's what I want to show you to start off with. So if you recall in my previous video, we were able to dial in this resistor that comes right off of the diode to 120 ohms. And you'll see here on the schematic it calls for a 47 ohm resistor. Doesn't list any wattage, so you have to assume on the schematic that each is measured as a 1 watt resistor. That's what it says on the schematic. So you would assume that that 47 ohm resistor would be 1 watt, but logic would tell you otherwise. So anyway, here's the 120 ohm resistor that I put in the unit. Let's see if we can get a focus on this. Can you see the brown tinge there? It's starting to burn. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it was starting to bake. So, and that's a 2 watt resistor. So clearly we need something more than 2 watts here. The one that was originally in the radio was a 10 watt ceramic. So let me show you what we're doing to address that. So what we've done here, let me turn the camera, right there. Pull back just a little bit so it focuses. So what we've done here is we've installed a big beefy 25 watt 120 ohm resistor on the top of the chassis. We have it screwed down, so we've got some nice heat sink there, and we've mounted it underneath. So that's how we've addressed it. 25 watts is probably way overkill, but that's okay. That thing is going to generate some heat for sure. So that's how we've addressed that. Now let's go into the troubleshooting of our volume problem. So let me shut the camera and we'll do that next. Okay, so we're going to start working on this volume problem, and I want to show you what I'm going to do to try to troubleshoot it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at my detector tube, which is the AVC. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see it. Right there, it's the 1U5 tube. And you'll notice that going on to this grid, we have a negative voltage. It's negative 0.2 volts. Now the way this thing works, the way I understand that it works, is that when a station is tuned in, a strong station is tuned in, there's actually a negative voltage, there's a negative voltage that comes out of this coil, comes down here, and goes across to this AVC cap, which is a 0.05. The stronger the station, the higher the negative voltage. The higher the negative voltage, the less that this converter tube and this IF amp tube are able to amplify. So remember what I said. The higher the negative voltage, the less these two tubes amplify. If I tune off station, these tubes are going to be amplifying much hotter. That's how this whole AVC thing works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a meter across this 0.05 capacitor, which goes to ground and goes up to the antenna, and I'm going to tune around. And if I get to a strong station, I do have one that I can get to. Let's see if the negative voltage goes up higher, and when I tune off, it goes off. So let me set that up, and I'll be right back. Okay, here's our AVC cap right here. This is the negative side, which goes to the B minus. This is the positive side. I've got my meter connected here to here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plug it in. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's tuned off station, and you can see I'm getting negative 0.02. Let's say 0.3. Let's tune this in a little bit and move my hand so you could see. It's tuning in a little bit. I'm getting 0.3 and almost 0.4. Let's see what else we can get. There's a really strong station. I'm getting 1.3 volts. Okay? Negative. So that tells me that my AVC is generally working. Alright, so it's negative 1.3, we tune off, drops back down to nothing basically. So that's how you can test and see if the AVC section is working. So remember, the voltage that comes out of the detector tube will actually be negative when it comes out of the coil that it's connected to. And the stronger the station, the stronger the negative voltage, the less amplification that is going to happen on the converter and the IF amp. So it kind of works backwards with each other. Strong stations, less volume. Okay? So let's get to the next test. Alright, so here's going to be our next step here. I put the 1U5 tube in my tube tester, which is the detector and an AVC, and it tests okay, but then I read this comment from AM station engineer, Tim, I believe, and he says, 1U5s don't test well, even on good tube testers. The diodes are rated well below the return voltage, which testers need to see. Low voltage tubes can be a pain. Blah, blah, blah. So basically, what I'm thinking is that I may have a weak tube, and I just don't know it. So I did order a new 1U5 tube, and it'll be here in a couple of days, and we're going to put that in and see if it improves the situation. So that's going to be the plan. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go and check all the resistors underneath and make sure all that's right. But I know I'm close because I wouldn't be getting any audio if I was really that far off. So I'm going to continue that troubleshooting, but when we get that tube in, that's going to be the real test. So we'll see what happens. So a shout out to AM station engineer. I'll be back. Okay, everybody, here's where we are. So you'll see I'll show you the front of the radio in a minute, but I've got the entire radio back together. So I've got the loop antenna reattached. I've got all the tube shields on. I've got the faceplate on with the dial, which I'll show you in a moment. And I am getting more volume because I just redid the alignment. And the alignment on this thing is a little bit unusual. So what they want you to do is they want you to hook up, when you do the alignment, so the first thing you do for broadcast is on your signal generator, you put the positive side on this green wire right here on the loop antenna. And the negative side, you go to the B minus through a 0.01 cap, okay? And you tune your dial to 1000 kilohertz. And you put a 455 kilohertz signal through the radio, and you adjust your cans, and there's two underneath these that you adjust as well. Then you need to go on your dial up to 1400 kilohertz, and your signal generator is 1400 kilohertz, but you don't need to do this capacitor deal anymore. And you don't connect the positive side of the signal generator to the antenna right here. What they want you to do is they want you to create a loop of wire like this, and they want you to just put it right near the loop antenna like that. And that's how you do the second phase. And then the third phase, and of course when you do that you adjust I don't know if you can see them right down here, these screws. And then the last phase is you go to 600 kilocycles, and I said kilohertz before, it's kilocycles. And you go and you adjust these three screws again, and this is all broadcast, not shortwave. So by doing that, I am getting a louder signal, and you can hear it here. It's not too bad. It's respectable. And if I tune around, I can hear other stations. There's not a lot of stations on here at night, so it's going to be hard to get something. Yeah, we're just going to get the strong one right here. So I also tried replacing the 1U5 tube with a new tube. It didn't really make a difference. So it's not a tube issue. So the alignment helped me a little bit. I still think there's something quite not right under there, which I'm going to look into. But there's no need for me to do that in a series. I will troubleshoot it. And if I find what it is and come back, I'll come back as a mishmash, or what we call them odds and sods here, and I'll let you know what I did to repair it. But I'm going to call this restored at this point. It's not the couplet. The couplet's working well. One of the things I'm going to check when I do go back to this is I'm going to remove the covering on the couplet and make sure that I got the right value components in there. That could be the problem. So I'm going to check that. Let me show you what the front of the radio looks like, and we'll wrap. Okay, there's the front of the radio. I moved it from the station so I don't get a copyright hit. But there she is. Looking good. So we're going to throw it back in the case, and like I said, I will get to this in a future video. But there's really no sense of me continuing the series because we've got this back down to where it needs to be, at least for the most part. But I haven't given up on it. So that's going to do it for this radio. Now it's starting to get a little warmer outside, so I'm going to start working on the case again for the S20R. Once I get a little warmer weather outside, I'm going to bring it outside, strip it, do all that prep, and do the decals and all that, paint it, and I'll come back and show you that, and I'll continue the series when I get to that part. So until then, we're going to start a new series. So that's about it for now, folks. So I thank you for hanging out with me on this one. I will come back with some updates on this radio and the other one shortly. Thanks, everybody.